Well, look, everyone, we're really excited to have you here. I thought I would just introduce myself, start with an opening. Maria, if you want to introduce yourself as well. We're really excited to have you all here. It's been an exciting day so far. I think one of the very relevant and interesting topic that we are excited to talk about is the world of influencer marketing. I'm with I'm Cameron Schiller. I'm with the Fiverr team. I oversee the influencer marketing projects here. Been invested in this world for like the last 10 years and working with a lot of different brands. And of course, we have a wonderful guest today who I'll let her introduce herself as well. But she is not just a plus size fashion style expert and blogger and entrepreneur with many years in the retail industry. But she's an amazing voice and advocate, speaker, and I think has so much wonderful knowledge to share that everybody can benefit from. So I'm really excited that we're paired up, and I'll of course let you introduce
yourself. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Cameron. I am Marie Dene. I'm the creator of The Curvy Fashionista. The Curvy Fashionista started out in 2008. And has evolved from a blog to a digital platform. So I kind of wear, two different hats, maybe three: influencer, editor-in-chief, and business owner, right? And kind of facilitate through those spaces, depending on, the audience and what we're talking about. And for me, I'm really excited to be here. Like I'm a nerd for the business of all things. And so especially when it comes to the changing landscape of influencers, and I'm excited to be here, honestly. I've been ready since 10.
I've been ready since a little bit after that. Well, look, I really love having this opportunity to not just connect with everybody, to connect with you. I think one of the things that's always so great about working in the world of creators, of influencers, is really that we're building communities, we're tapping into communities. And well, look, in one way or another, I'm sure everyone here, you've all heard of influencer marketing, right? This world of all of this great talent out there, and it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and find the right people and all this stuff. And how do you sort of weed through it, right? There's so many brands out there that are have started with really strong strategies like direct to consumer. There are others who are, jumping in saying, I got to figure this out. So, the more that we can help share learnings and we can provide insights so that you can be successful, I think is really important because brands are always looking, and influencers as well, right? Both are always looking for ways to be personable, to engage a like-minded audience, rather than everything being so transactional and salesy. And like that is achievable. That does happen when you are able to really build the right relationships. And I think that after me being in this field for 10 years, and I know Maria has done so much in this field, we've seen it, we've felt it, we've done it. We've tried, we've succeeded, we failed, but ultimately there is a thread that is really exciting for any brand or influencer to engage with. Because ultimately, everybody's got a level of influence, whether you're, super small, right, or something bigger.
And I think that's what's important in that, as we kind of like talk about and reference this word influencer. I think a lot of times it gets a bad rap, because people hear influencer, they automatically think someone who's like shilling for some free products, right? And for me, what's very important, and one of the things that I teach when I am teaching different bloggers and influencers is remember your why. Why did you start? So regardless if you're a business owner, a boutique owner, an influencer, when you remember and know and stay true to your why, that is going to resonate with whatever you do and align yourself with, right? So I represent the plus size space. It's not going to make sense for me to do something with, a weight loss company, or, for me, like if it doesn't, it has to naturally align. For me, I love coffee. I love Barbie. Like these are things that, I can talk and have those conversations around and create safe spaces for these conversations. So that way you can't question my integrity, but as we grow and I'm able to, take things to that next level, it is an alignment. And that's where, sometimes we get these the conversations, like you said, where people are like, you know, like this doesn't make sense. This is a match. And then that, yeah.
And I think that's something, I think you hit on a point that would be, that would be great for us to dive into more, which is like so important. I think, you know, what are your thoughts on the importance of like being authentic? Like, what is your authentic self as not just an influencer, but also like, how does one look for what an authentic relationship with the brand is? Like, what are there values that need to be aligned there?
A couple of different things. Like for me, you know, I'm a coffee drinker. I love, you know, I'm not an iPhone person. I am Team Droid, right? Like these are things that are natural extensions of myself, right? And so next to that, you know, so those are brands who I would naturally look for to partner and engage with, because I'm already a natural ambassador and I'm already championing the brand and having these conversations. Secondly, like if a brand approaches me and they're saying, hey, there's some synergy here, I'm going to, you know, review and see how it feels. I'm going to check my gut, because sometimes, like, you know, you'd be like, I'm not sure. Like, interestingly enough, like random, I wrote about, you know, feminine product yesterday, but I was so shocked and surprised about it. And I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like that we wrote about it. So there was a direct message and a direct attachment that you could tell, like, oh, not only am I a member, but I'm you know, not only am I a spokesperson, but I am a member, you know, like that kind of thing. And that it needs to flow naturally versus just like, here's a picture of me. Like there's no connection there.
Yeah, and I think another thing too that you know, from my side, that I've always seen and respected and valued, that maybe you can share with us more on, is that, you know, as an influencer, right, you're building your own community. You are a brand, and so the values that you have matter. It's not just, oh, you're in the world of plus size fashion, so anything that I as a brand might want to do, should it go? I mean, that's right. Like, or is it more nuanced than that? Does it matter what your community is that you've built and what your values are?
That's to that point. I mean, there are always niches within the niche, right? So there are always levels that you can continue to further. For me, it's about the contemporary plus size fashion options. So like that's the space. I purposely don't write about prices. I purposely don't, because for me, the Curvy Fashionista is a platform, is a resource, right? So I want you to focus on what's available and not be so, you know, focused on like, oh, this is this cost, this is this price. I want to show you that we have options, and options at different levels. So for me, if I'm writing about something, if I go like one way or the other, it has to make sense, or I have to set it up and give like a reason or an explanation or break things down so that my audience and community is understanding where we're going and why it makes sense.
How do you like, I mean, what's typical for you and how you like to work with a brand? What is like the ideal way that a brand can come to the table and really build the strongest relationship with an influencer?
You know, I think, you know, what really works, and, you know, in true transparency, you know, I just did some work with Fiverr, right? And one of the reasons why I loved it is because when they came to me, I was able to share my idea and how there was synergy and how it would work. I have been speaking about helping support and bringing resources to small business owners so that these plus size brands could make their way, you know, on the other side of, you know, the Rona, right? So for me, there was a direct synergy, and I was able to provide to Jeff's question, you know, how do these brands compensate? You know, that's the conversation we have. This is what I'm able to provide for you. This is my rate. They may have a budget, and then, you know, we come together and, you know, have that discussion, and then it's like, my deliverables are X, your deliverables are Y, and then Z is the finished product.
Yeah, and Jeff, you know, I think you asked a really great question. Maybe I'll throw in a 2 cents. I'm not going to try and steal too much sunlight, but just, you know, I've worked on the brand side for several different brands and on various levels of campaigns. And I think that every brand, right, has different business objectives. So when you find great talent, who aligns with your values, right? And would be a great, and not just ambassador, but their community is one that you want to reach. It's their community. It's not your community, right? It's Marie's community that you want to reach. It's really about determining the compensation that brings a return for your business goals, right? And it's about aligning those. My feeling has always been like every brand is different. Marie, maybe you can share, a little bit more on how you approach things like setting a price, establishing your ability to drive results, regardless of like, where do you start with a brand on that?
So, for me, I will always ask what their goals are, what their objectives are. I'll send an email, they'll send me an email, we'll schedule time to get on a call so I can kind of get some of the nuance out of the way and really understand what they're looking for. And so for me, I already know what I can do. I know what my capabilities are. So if you're trying to be an influencer, you need to know what your capabilities. Can you deliver video? Can you deliver conversions to sales? Like for me, my brand is top of funnel. We are top of funnel. We are the introducers of the brand to the Plus community. That's our strongest suit. So for me, I also influence the influencers, right? We are in resource, information, and knowledge. And so from there, if I approach a brand, I'm going to be like, hey, okay, I want to work with you. This is what we can do. We can do video. We can reach out and bring you X, Y, and Z influencers additional to this campaign. You hire us to execute it. And then we will give you, X amount of blog posts, X amount of Instagram posts, X amount of, if they're looking for Pinterest, or if they're looking for tweets, whatever those deliverables that are based off of their objectives, I send back basically a proposal. They say, all right. And I'm like, this is what this rate will cost. Now, when it comes to value and rate, to your point again, like for me, part of the challenge is, understanding, because it's so, I believe the word is subjective, or is it objective? But there's no like standard, right? And there's some push to starting to standardize it, but right now there's still none. So you're learning, what are your costs going to take? What are your bare minimum costs to pay a bill, right? And then you also have to make sure that for what you say you're going to do, that you're able to deliver on those and do what it takes to deliver for the brand to be happy.
That's really great. And I always look at things from different perspectives. In fact, it might excite people probably that in every role I've had, I always say like I fight for the creator, but I'm always thinking about the world through that lens because I started as a creator. But I think, there's also this world of like, we hear about all these platforms and TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube and Facebook, right? And like, well, what, and there's like, what's the answer for my business? Is there one answer for all businesses? Is there, here's where the industry is going and this is where every brand and business should go?
So, we could ask that same question about Facebook. Because I've been around in it long enough. I remember the days when you would put a post on Facebook and every single one of your likes, the people who liked and followed your page, saw it. Every single one of them. And for me, I have 560,000 Facebook followers, right? And fans or whatever on my page. So I was like, hey, but then Facebook changed everything. They changed their algorithm, and it forced many brands to shift where they put weight and what they valued. They didn't care about Facebook getting shares anymore for a second. Then everyone moved to Instagram. Instagram is owned by Facebook. Instagram has gone the same direction, right? And so, you have these different platforms, and when they shift, like you have to understand how to move with the algorithms, right? And so when it comes to different platforms, I'm not on TikTok. I love watching it, but we're not on TikTok because I'm like, I don't even know how them kids are editing those things to get like, I just don't, that's not for me. And it's okay.
Well, look, I think to get a little tactical, I always love, I love, I'm a huge strategy person, but then also like super, super tactical, right? one of the exciting things about the work that I get to do at Fiverr is that we have a lot of different verticals, right? So it's not like there's like one product. There's a lot of different things. So, you know, what I walk away from a lot of the time is there is no one right method for a brand and no one right channel for an influencer. But what, like, become very sophisticated in data. Like I'm high tech and I'm high touch. I'm art and science, because the data can help find who reaches the audience. And maybe there are certain channels for you as a brand that help you drive really, really well. So when you know your pipeline, right, am I looking to drive brand KPIs? Do I want awareness? Do I want market perception? Do I want, do I want to drive these brand metrics, or do I want growth, which is like conversion, sales? Well, it's great to say that this is what I'm looking for. Cool. So do the research and find who out there reaches the audience, right? Shares your values, and then do they have communities that they built on channels that will drive those KPIs that you're looking for? We don't go into every campaign saying everyone's got to convert to sales. No, because do we want to build equity in relationships? And maybe we have different strategies, but the more you know data, and the more I found I talk to people like you and influencers like you, the more I learn where my brand can go, as opposed to me being prescriptive about it. Maybe you can talk about that prescriptive nature versus being on the journey together.
Because sometimes, like right now, every brand is on Instagram. Instagram is not my jam. Like for me, like I use it it's there, but like it's, for me, my jam is literally my blog, my website, Pinterest, and Facebook. Like and Twitter. Like those are my metrics where I'm able to have like a lot of engagement and conversation. And so for me, when I have a brand that's like, oh, well, we want to do Instagram, I'm like, well, let me show you. Like my Instagram stories, my Facebook stories outdo my Instagram stories. So we all have like different strengths. And so when you know like where your audience is, when you know where your customer is, when you know where your community is and what they're looking for, and you have that relationship and you're engaging with them, like you're able then to communicate that back to the brand and let them know, hey, like, yes, this is what you want, but in order for this to be successful, this is what I can give you. And I think the more that you practice that, just because they say they want this, it is your responsibility as an influencer to be able to push back and show the brand, like, this is how we can actually work, so, and really you have to know what you're working with, and not just being excited and saying we, because a brand reached out to you. You have to know this is a business, so you have to know what you're really working with.
So Marie, if you're, I think maybe you could give us your thoughts on both the influencer and the brand side as well. If you're a noob, right, and you're starting out and you're micro and you're building is there a place for someone who's saying, wait a minute, I love doing stuff, I got a little following, is there a place for me? And then also maybe your thoughts as well on, like, if you're a brand that doesn't have a big budget, can I, as a brand that maybe only has no budget, but maybe product, can I do things with influencers? And should I be afraid to really go after working with influencers, or does a brand need to wait until it's got?
So to the newbie bloggers and newbie influencers, like, go for it, because everyone started at zero. We just may have been in it longer, but everyone has started at zero. So the biggest challenge I'm going to probably give to you is about consistency and engagement, right? It's replying back, it's responding back, it's showing up consistently so that person knows to, like, always look for you. That's going to be the biggest challenge, but it's one of those things that, everyone thinks that they need to start perfectly. I need to have all these things together so that when I start, like, I can then go after it. No, you just need to start. It's going to evolve. If you look at all these different older, like, kind of heritage brands, their logos have evolved over the time. Their voices have evolved over time. The same is going to be for you. So if you're worried about, oh, well, I don't have X, Y, or Z, like, throw that out, because you're not going to start perfect. It's not going to be perfect. What your challenge is going to be engaging. That means even engaging, brands and influencers who've been around longer, engaging and finding your community, right? Finding your people and growing with them, because, like, the people who you surround yourself with is really going to help, motivate you to continue. So there's that. And then for brands, if you are a brand new brand, especially now, like, don't hesitate to, like, you should be just as much showing up and engaging, but you should also be following the people who you are wanting to work with. And that goes without saying, but you should be following the folks that you want to work with. You should already be engaging with them, and not so much like on the Instagram, like, hey, follow me, like literally commenting about and having an engaging conversation, because not everything is going to require dollars exchange. Because, like, for me, like, I know, like, the indies drive the plus size business. The indies drive the community in our space. So for me, like, I'm not going to charge an indie the same what I would charge a retailer. I'm not. And so, but if I have a relationship, I have grown with some of these indies over these years, that if I need something or if they need something, it's just a conversation. Hey, girl, I need some help. So it's really going to be about those relationships.
Yeah, I think, look, you've said something that's so important to my work on the brand side. And I think, for everybody who's watching, and please, guys, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in. We are watching them as they come through and working to adjust them. But, one of the reasons why I love chatting with you is, like, we both have so much passion. We're both excited about this, but I think that you find that about the creator community, right? We're all creators. We're all influential. We want to build relationships. I mean, will you find people who, are very transactional? Of course you will. But if you want to partner with a community and you want to connect with that community, either on the brand side or the influencer side, then you have to genuinely invest time, interest, and build relationships. I love it when someone reaches out and says, hey, I'm just starting out. We did a film challenge, and someone did a whole film on how they're starting out and their motivation and everything. And really, it's what builds relationships. I always say relationships are people. They're not brands, and they're not influencers, right? Relationships are people. You develop a friendship. And in this world of, like, social influence, it's actually really just people who have built their own communities. Right? And,
so sorry to interrupt. What I will say is, for those who are new on the brand and influencer side, people, I hear this often. They're like, oh, they didn't reply to me, or, oh, nothing came, or they're, they have this, like, thing. It may not be your time to connect with them. If you are building a relationship and it doesn't work, or what you want is not in alignment with what they can give, doesn't mean that it will never happen. Doesn't mean like there's no one who's going to help you. That person may actually be able to introduce you to someone who can help you in a way that they couldn't, right? So it's really important to realize that and understand that, because just because you email someone doesn't always mean you're going to get a response. And when you learn not to take that so personal, I still get emails I'll send out and people don't respond. I'm like, oh, okay, they're lost. Like, I was trying to work with them, like, I've learned that, but I've also been doing this like 11 years. So that's different. But it is something that I had to understand, recognize, and realize, like, it's just not our time. And, a year from now, it may be 2 years, and sometimes even 3. Folks, PR people jump from place to place to place. Like, someone didn't work over here on this brand, but now they're over here on this brand. They're like, oh my gosh, this person was great. Let's hook them up.
So is there a short, like, what are your thoughts? What do you think when a brand comes to you and says, look, I just want to do one thing? Is there value in looking long-term and building long-term relationships, or should relationships be looked at as, well, let's try, and if that doesn't work, let's bail?
I think it depends on the brand, and it depends on the influencer. For me, long-term, because like I said, my strong suit is at the top of the funnel. So for me, it's going to be the repetition. It's going to be the long-term. It's going to be about high touch, and the messaging. And so, you know, for me, I had to know that about myself. I had to know that about myself. I had to respect that about myself. And once I did, it allowed for me to be able to have stronger conversations with brands to show them the bigger picture. So when you're able to really know like what your strengths are, if you know you've got like a 15 to 20% engagement rate on Instagram, girl, lead with that. Like if you know that, you know, you write about something and 20 people go and tell their girlfriends and boyfriends and sister friends, and now you've generated like conversation, lead with that. You need to know your strengths, because when you know them, like you can have stronger and more effective conversations that actually lead to. So for me, like, you know, to that point, like longer term is better, because one is a flash in the pan. Like what Instagram, their posts are like, what's the lifespan on Instagram? Like on Twitter, it's like 2 minutes. So you need like repetition and high touch. Like each platform has like its own like lifespan of a message, of a certain type of message. So you have to realize where your strong suits are and be able to speak to that.
So Maria, I know we've only got like 2 minutes left, but one of the things that I you know hear so much about, that I think the audience would really benefit from your perspective on, is, you know, this, well, go get a celebrity because that's the end all to a successful campaign. What are your thoughts on that? I know we've only got 2 minutes, but like, you know,
you know, I think it's hilarious because, you know, sometimes it's like the easy, quick and easy route, or it's just a surface level. I think when a brand is creating a campaign, it needs to have different tiers. Yes, you have your celebrity, but then it's supported by, you know, influencer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think, you know, also where's that celebrity and their relationship within the community? Because is there a correlation? You could just have a celebrity and nobody is like, oh, okay, girl. Like there's no resonance, and then it falls flat, and then you're like, oh my God, we just wasted $100,000.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think it's so easy to like create a spike or create a splash, right? If you get an influencer to talk about plus size fashion, but if their values are not connected with that world, if they're not seen as someone can you drive eyeballs today? Sure. But are you building, you know, the relationship, the conversion, everything you want by following an industry leader, an advocate, someone who's going to drive loyalty between your community and that brand? Just, you know, look at yourself and ask yourself, what is the value of the relationship that that person is going to help us establish with their community, right? If it's a musician, what's the value of that musician's community to my brand, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, look, this was so exciting. You know, I wish we had more time.
Like we could go. I feel like we're so.
Yeah. I know. Where's the fireside chat afterwards? But look, I think it was a really exciting, and I think, you know, the community that you have been a part of, support, are, you know, a consultant in, a thought leader, you know, a contributor to, is just so wonderful. And, you know, we talked a little bit, everyone, about not just, you know, the world of social influence, but, you know, what does it mean to be authentic? What does it mean to know what authenticity is for me as an influencer or as a brand, right? How do I work with the brand? Should I just do what a brand wants, or should I really know what I do for my community, because I am a brand, right? What are the different platforms and strategies that work? Look, I think Marie said it and I said it, right? It depends on your brand, and nothing is forever. But then also, as we look into the future, you know, I think you really helped illuminate that, like, it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, there is a place for everyone. And whether you're a noob, whether you're a veteran, whether or not you're a side gigger and just you do this on the side, right? There is a place for everyone. And it's not to say that celebrities can't drive value, but it is tiered, right? It is not, there is one answer. It is, where in the funnel do you want to drive impact? So become informed, be knowledgeable, talk to people, start conversations. You can't just pay $1 and expect
start conversations. Say hello, introduce yourself, and don't lead with the ask in the first reach.
Yeah, For sure. And don't spam. Don't spam. I'm like every email I send is like, I've followed you, I've looked at you, I know about you. I think that we should do something together. That's how I lead if I introduce myself to you.
Right. Right. And it's really just about time. Like everyone wants things to happen overnight, but it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. So like you really have to put in that work and you have to put in time and just be patient. Enjoy the journey you're on. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, and listen, if it's not fun for you, take a step back and think about what would make this really fun, because it is a fun world. We get to create, we get to partner, we get to change the way that people look at the world, right?
And it's beautiful, and I think it's exciting. And
well, look,
I know we probably have to. I'm like, look, we're already like a minute over. Like we're just like.
Don't talk to people in the influencer world, because we'll keep influencing.
We will.
Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. You know, I'm always available for anyone who has questions or anything we can do to support the community. Marie, we love everything that you do, and you have a really wonderful voice, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I had fun. This was great.